So actually, I'm going to talk about an upcoming event first of all. So in a month's time, David Attenborough will be turning 100 years old. And some of you will recall his quote from the recent film Oceans, which was, he said, after almost 100 years on the planet, I now understand the most important place on Earth is not on land, but at sea. And I think that's something that many of us will have heard, and it will have really resonated with us when we heard it. We all understand the ocean degradation that's increasing in a number of ways, and we're all increasingly aware of that. But coastal communities are responding to the challenges. There are so many people who love the marine environment and want to help. To do so, they often need a helping hand, and that's where Sea Changers seek to provide small grants or grant program or grant funding through our funding partners, through the support of our funding partners. In our latest marine grant round, which ended this year, in March 31st, we received a record-breaking 56 grant applications. 56 groups have ideas for marine conservation work they feel will make a difference to our seas and shores and to the health of our oceans. How fantastic is that, that there are these groups out there keen to do this work? It's so encouraging to see the ideas, the innovation, the energy that exists. But at the moment, there's a funding gap, that as we simply don't have enough funding to meet that need. At Sea Changers, we know full well that this local funding demand creates a real opportunity for our business and funding partners. The chance for them to unlock community talent, energy and ideas and create significant impact on marine conservation and the marine environment.
By funding lots of small projects, we create cumulative impact, certainly, and we're helping to build a national movement. We spot patterns, we share learning, we try to help scale the things that have worked, so that small grants don't just support individual projects, but they're helping to drive a more national system level change. Although I would say that's an area of our work that we'd certainly like to do more of in coming years. Well, 2025 was our biggest year yet. We distributed grants in a huge range from £500, which is what our small grant limit is, to our biggest ever grants. 3 Step Up Fund projects, each receiving between £15,000 and £18,000, which was to back projects that had already proven their value for the UK seas and communities, but needed a bigger boost to reach their full potential. Huge diversity of approaches and ideas, as we've seen in previous years. We received, for example, 50 applications under our Innovation Fund, with projects spanning marine habitat restoration, invasive species detection, climate and carbon research, fisheries management, and new conservation technologies, with creating this sort of real strong blend of practical innovation and public engagement, lots of citizen science, all of it aimed at improving the health and resilience of marine ecosystems. The growth in funding was much needed because the total number of grant applications we received also grew by about a third compared to 2024, with most of the growth coming from our small grants, lots and lots of people wanting that up to £500, and our Innovation Fund, which we showed the biggest increase in demand that we'd seen. We continue to be amazed by the disproportionate impact that small grants like ours can have, and we've enabled huge numbers of volunteers to take action for the seas, often also allowing grant recipients to bring in much larger funding from other sources, having received Sea Changers funds. So today we are going to share 3 examples. We've got 3 guests, so I'm going to hand back to Rachel to introduce them.
The Cumbria Wildlife Trust were funded by Sea Changers at £958 towards Irish Sea Day. Amber, over to you.
We at the Trust are constantly looking for ways to make marine spaces more accessible and allow people to form connections with our marine environments that then enable greater change. So those barriers can be distance from the ocean, the cost of sort of actually engaging, so be that, all of the marine activities you have, to actually get out and under the water can be very pricey and a barrier. And then also physical ability and also just physical accessibility of those spaces as well. Irish Sea Day was a festival that we ran that was all about getting people to sort of come and experience and celebrate the wonderful wildlife and habitats that we have in the Irish Sea, and learn more about how to protect them. We were really fortunate to be granted funding to purchase 2 VR headsets, one of which was with us in Cumbria and one went to the Isle of Man, as the Irish Sea Day events that were running all across the 6 authorities in the Irish Sea. These events attracted thousands of people between the sort of the Cumbria and Isle of Man events. And what we were able to do was to use these VR headsets to kind of transform the sort of experience of habitats such as that to being able to people to view them like this. So this I can't move around, but we sourced footage from different habitats within the Irish Sea. What you can see here is a seagrass meadow underwater, and if I move my mouse away so that the pause button goes away, you may be able to see some glittering in the top corner, which is a shoal of sand eels that were sort of flying overhead. When you put the VR headset on, you're able to look around as if you are actually underwater experiencing these things. There's sound as well, hearing the waves and the sort of underwater noises of the boats nearby. So it's a completely immersive experience that many people just would not necessarily have the chance to have, or make the decision to go out and do. I haven't shown it here. Maybe I should have, because it's always the one that does really well. We also were able to source some dolphin footage. So again, just that kind of pull in of people diving with dolphins. And it really is as if you're swimming just alongside them. So the benefit of having this technology was, you know, for the kind of the £948 that we had, we were able to engage thousands of people with the underwater habitats that were in the Irish Sea, which is just an unprecedented number. And that is potentially the first interaction that some people will have had with those environments. I won't go into the sort of accessibility from before, but obviously all of that is still there. So this could be the spark of interest for a young person who hasn't been able to go to these environments before, or just an opportunity for someone to make a connection with these marine environments that they haven't made before. We were able to use these VR headsets not only at Irish Sea Day, but we were also able to use them again and again at small young marine biologist careers days, public stands, conferences, and we still have them now and are consistently looking for ways to use them. So I can stand there and talk about how wonderful these places are, but if you can see it, it really is that link that we as humans need to go, oh wow, that really is cool. And I saw that and heard that time and time again. We had a kid that nearly fell off the chair because he was so excited about looking down underneath his feet and seeing these dolphins around him. So in an increasingly tech integrated world where sometimes it feels like conservation and the natural world can be kind of left behind from that, this was a fantastic way of using that technology to mean that we can bridge that gap and really, more than anything, allow people to form that connection with the natural spaces that may lead to them being involved or going and seeking those spaces out for themselves, which we simply wouldn't have been able to do on this scale without the funding. So for me, it's a massive thank you, because I see the impact of that every time we bring these headsets to anything.
Fabulous. Thank you again, Amber. So we're going to move over to Ali Mayer. Ali has worked with, you'll have to explain, Ali, 2 different sub-aqua clubs on one project, the Portiness Marine Survey in Chichester and neighbouring harbours. So
I'm Alison Mayer and Ali Mayer, to close friends, which I count you as. And I'm a member of the British Sub-Aqua Club. In fact, I'm a newly appointed Marine Champion about 6 months ago, and a member of 2 dive clubs, the Nautical Archaeology Sub-Aqua Club, that's the lead for this project, and also South Sea Sub-Aqua Club. There are about 3 miles apart, and on the same harbour. So they're effectively, a lot of people are members of both clubs. And I think this is what a typical, I think this might be Chichester Harbour scene is, and people assume that it's completely empty and dead and nothing to see, etc., under the water. Obviously there's a lot of risks and pollution. We've got a huge Southern Water wastewater processing plant, and there's a lot of yachts, particularly in Chichester Harbour, and a lot of anoxic mud areas as well, in the harbours as well. So the grant that we had kindly from Sea Changes was really set up a project to record the marine life that is present in both of the harbours. The Sea Changes grant allowed us to buy some equipment, pay for some training. We also were match funded by the Solent Forum to a similar extent of about £1,500. We had 17 people go through the BSAC underwater surveyor course, and another 5 do the sea search course as well. So set up for diving, and looking at the areas involved, they are massive. In fact, Langstone Harbour, which is the smaller, is the same size as Portsmouth City itself, the island. So diving's just not happened here over the last 40 years or so, and nobody really knew what was living there, and that was the curiosity that sparked the project. So thankfully, with the grants and the training, we have managed to both dive 29 survey dives at 17 sites, and we've also done a lot of intertidal surveys as well. All these dots here in Langstone Harbour on the left and Chichester on the right are the survey sites where we've done. So obviously the ones in the blue are diving, and then the ones on the coast are the intertidal surveys on spring tides. So what have we achieved? So out of those dives, we've recorded over 670 observations through iNaturalist, and 247 different species. I have got more to add. And this actually blew us away in terms of the diversity that was there. We found nine priority species, UK BAP species, including seahorses and seagrass, and various unusual things that have never been recorded either on the south coast, let alone in the harbours. So 6 priority habitats such as rossworm reef and seagrass. And this is a sort of a bit of an analysis of the diversity that we've come across. And I don't really know how this is representative of a typical South Coast harbour. And that's something I want to dig into a bit more. But you can see that there's so much diversity there across all of the genus. And we've learned a lot as a result, as individuals. None of us are marine biologists. We're all volunteer divers. So we've been learning about the individual species as well. And here's, an indication of the colour, the diversity, everything from grey seals through to, the tiniest little crabs and skeleton shrimps and things like that, very delicate seaweeds, etc. We did find 17 non-native species as well, which was a surprise to Natural England. So we've been working with them to keep them informed of the non-natives that we find. We've also found, as I said, a huge diversity of habitats as well. So everything from a wreck up on the top right-hand corner through to, sandy beaches, tidal rapids, seagrass, etc. So the big question that's come out of this is the marine life in our harbours thriving or surviving or declining? And all the time that we didn't know what was there, you can't begin to measure that. And so the first 2 years of the project have been to look at establish a baseline. And then for the future, starting this year, we're going to, we've identified 5 sites in each harbour, which we will monitor spring, summer and autumn, and share that data so that we can help inform management plans for people like the Chichester Harbour Conservancy and Lancaster Harbour Board, Natural England. We're working with the University of Portsmouth and various other organisations as well. So I think what we have been surprised by is just really the diversity, but the fact that none of this, well, I say none of it, about 40% has never been recorded in either harbour, and sometimes not even along the south coast. So it just shows you that because it's not regularly dived, and rightly so, because you don't want to be run over by yachts, it's not a popular, typical dive site resort sort of thing. But because it's not been dived over the last 20 or so years, the data of what is living there and what habitats are there is sorely missing. And both harbour authorities are absolutely bowled over by what we've achieved, and we work, as I say, very closely with them to help inform their management plans of what can be done in the future.
Janice Piggott is here with us from Ullapool Sea Savers, here to talk not about one project, but about 3 projects that were all funded, £750 each, but with some common themes across them, all funded through our Scottish Learning Fund.
We're up in the far northwest coast of Scotland, up in Ullapool, which is a very big town for our locale, but it's only got 1,700 people, so it's still pretty tiny. Ullapool Sea Savers set up in 2018 by 4 kids. It's grown pretty steadily since then. We've got 40 kids at the moment, which again sounds small in the wider UK context, but is the local primary school's only got 100 kids. So we're pretty proud of our numbers. The main thing with the Ullapool Sea Savers is that it's youth-led. So I am the only grown-up involved. It's entirely down to what the children want to do. We meet them where they are, following principles of youth work. So youth-led, it's positive. That's really, really important. It's not about telling people off. It's about engaging people in the marine environment and showing them what there is to love so that they then want to help us to protect it. And we've got an enormous respect for science. So we always try to be knowledge-based. So that's our kind of 3 main pillars. Now, the reason that we have been incredibly excited about the Support for Learning Fund is that it's about knowledge sharing. Which fits really, really well within the context of what the Ullapool Sea Savers do, because it's meant that we can do visits to other projects, which, given that how remote we are, is a real treat, and also really, really important for the children to understand the wider context of the work that they're doing. Okay, so this was us down at Hebridean Whale and Dolphin Trust, which is a charity working out of Mull, where they teach people about whales and dolphins. And the kids wanted to go down there and show the fact files. Each of the Sea Savers protects an individual species as part of their wider work. So they wanted to go down and show the fact files that they've created, get feedback from the people at HWDT, but also see what community engagement HWDT are doing, because they do really amazing work. So this is a visit to their centre. This is them doing some of the resources. That's the research vessel that the HWDT have for doing surveying up and down the Minch. This is back in the centre, seeing all the stuff. There we go. Sensory rooms. This is all the Ullapool young people getting ideas for what we could then do up in Ullapool to further engage our community up here. There's one I really want to show you. There we go. So back in the day, we are featuring in their new wall display. So it was an amazing thing for the young people to see that they are actually they're on display down there, our work's there. It's a link up thing, and it was so empowering for the young people in terms of what they then want to do going forward back in our village to engage people with everything that's amazing in the local MPA. They also went out and did a beach clean there on the beach in Tobermory, and went to see Silurian. We did the flush stickers. We've got another campaign, which hopefully, I don't know, Rachel and Helen, did you get your stickers? Awesome, good. So this is trying to link up land and sea litter. So everywhere the Sea Savers have been, we're trying to put stickers, and we're also trying to get one on every toilet in Ullapool. So this was HWT's toilet. And then we went out to see the lighthouse, and there we are back at the beginning. So yeah, that was the first one that we did. The second one that we did was... where has the chat gone? Okay, so the second one that we did was a visit to Greenhive. Now, with support from another actually Sea Changers fund, we've been pulling in an awful lot of marine waste from the beaches around here, from very remote locations. But that's an example of the kind of waste that we're pulling in. And we discovered that the only plastics granulator in Highland is just over in Nairn, and they're doing really amazing work recycling the plastics. One of the big problems that we've got with everything we bring in, although we're cleaning huge amounts of waste off the beaches around our local marine protected area, it just goes to landfill. There's no recycling facilities. So this was the children trying to figure out what they could do and whether we could collaborate with this other group to find positive solutions to the waste that we're bringing in. So this is an example of stuff that's going on in the workshop. This is an example. You pick the type, they granulate it, and then this orange in that plate that's been made there, that was from a piece of net that we pulled in from a beach up here. So really visceral, practical things that can be done with the plastics, and the children learning about the different types of plastic that there are that come in. And how important it is to grade them into different types. So they've got this machine that tells, so we're learning about different types of plastic and which ones are recyclable, which ones aren't, how important it is to get it cleaned, and thinking about, so this machine here identifies different types of plastic. So there's chat about whether we could take that out onto the beach with us or get it into the harbour and then select which stuff we could forward to Greenhive to granulate and turn it. So this is the plastic that they granulate it down to. Then they put it through a sheet press, and then you can make all sorts of different things with it. So this is really an example of them being able to get their head around the wider picture of the work that they're doing and where it might fit into the work that that adults are doing to deal with the plastics tsunami that is hitting us. And also just very, very positive team building. Went out to Fife and saw, not Fife, the beach at Nairn, and saw this work. So yeah, that's another example. Okay, stop sharing. And now the last one that we got was completely different again. We went over to, because where we are is so remote, there are children in communities around the coast who don't get much chance to do any extracurricular activities at all, but do also care very deeply about their marine environment and have been following the work that we're doing and are very keen to learn more. So our final one was taking our work that we do out to some of the neighbouring communities. So this is Scorrig, which is completely off-grid and very, very difficult to get to. I'm from there, so I had a certain inroad to it and was very conscious that the children were really asking to get a bit of the Sea Savers action. So we did 3 sessions out on Scorrig. First one was a theory one. This is an interactive display that we use quite a lot. These are Velcro stick-on things. We've had this in Scottish Parliament. We've had it all over the place, explaining the MPA. We talk first about what species we might find out there, and then the children identify the different habitats. We move on to anthropogenic pressures. Whoa, I seem to have gone completely off onto something else now. And then we populate it with anthropogenic pressures, and then we take them back off again. This is Scorrig, the pier there. So in our second session, we took them out in that boat and gave them hands-on experience of driving and lifting creels and giving them some idea of the potential that the boat has for work that they could do around there. And then the third session was a much more informal one where we asked them about what they might like to do. And that actually, this was incredibly successful because it springboarded another session in one of the other coastal communities, Coich, which we then ran. That wasn't part of this specific project, but it's a really good example of how this money is so well targeted that it means that you can trigger other things. It's an entirely replicable model that we've got, and we've had the chance to test drive it out on Scorig, and now it's already working in Coich, and we're really excited about the potential to take it to other smaller communities all around Scotland, because it is one of the questions we get asked the most often by people is how can we have a Sea Savers group of our own in our community? So that one was incredibly helpful as well. So yeah, basically we found the Sea Savers funding, Sea Changers funding to be incredibly sort of well targeted. It's just very, very cleverly thought out. It's adaptable, it's maneuverable, which fits very well with the kind of endless flow of incredible ideas that the young people have of stuff that they would like to do. And it enables us to trial things and see what works, tweak them, roll them out again. It's just a fantastic fund, and we're incredibly grateful to have had access to it.
And then, of course, we couldn't finish without saying there's a gap. You know, we've just got 56 applications in. Most of our main grant rounds, we can fund 14, 15. So we are turning down project after project that could be like this. So that's our plea to any funders present is we'd like to do more. And I think the final thing to say as well is that with the final point I made about what we're trying to do at Sea Changers, the amplification point, in a way that the Scottish Learning Fund is a really good example of that. We can see these pockets of work. We want to enable these great projects to go and talk about their work and share their learning so that we can see replication, amplification of the good projects that are being done at a local level. So it does become more of a national network. So that's what we're trying to focus on in the next year, really, is just how Sea Changers can do that better. So any ideas and any funds to help us do that, very welcome.
Yeah, just a huge thank you to all the projects who've taken part today. Quite often for Rachel and I, and for Rachel Wilson as well, our role is simply thinking about amplifying, getting more money in so we can do more. And actually, we don't take enough time to step back and think, what are people actually doing with that money? We see evaluation, obviously, and follow that. But it's absolutely wonderful to spend an hour with you today hearing about those projects. It just makes me want to go and work harder and achieve more. So thank you for giving us a boost of motivation and energy this morning. And I hope it's done the same for everyone else around the room. I'm sure it has. Rachel, we'll pass her back to you.
That's all for this morning. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you very much to our 3 projects, and have a great day, everyone.
Thank you.
Email me now.
Thanks very much. Bye.
And then we can